Welcome back to Tipton Bros. Today, we'll be discussing the first Japanese carrier-based fighter and predecessor to the infamous Zero, the Mitsubishi A5M. Design, development, service history, and specifications will be provided. Before we begin, I must disclose that I am no expert and never claim to be. Now, let's get into it. The Empire of Japan throughout the 1930s remained disciplined in the field of aeronautics, with no room for complacency. Their hunger for innovation, fueled by competition amongst the world powers. In 1934, the Imperial Japanese Navy issued a set of specifications calling for an aircraft which could set the island nation head and shoulders above its rivals. This fighter must be capable of 220 miles per hour, a quick rate of climb, and ample maneuverability over all else. The IJN request was an open invitation that piqued the interest of both Nakajima and Mitsubishi. Under the close supervision of Chief Engineer Jiro Horikoshi, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries would excel, soon securing the IJN contract. The fighter was designated the KA-14 by its creators and employed several fascinating design elements. The KA-14 was an all-duralumin construction with a low-mounted, elliptical inverted gull wing. Anytime I see an inverted gull wing, I always think of the American F-4U Corsair. This main plane configuration was heavily considered, but reverted to its low conventional form. These aspects of the KA-14 were cutting-edge and a glimpse into the future of fighter aircraft, but other characteristics understandably clung to the past, such as the fixed undercarriage. Wanting to keep the weight to a bare minimum, Mitsubishi engineers omitted a retractable landing gear in favor of a stationary one. Simple, cost-effective, and beneficial to handling, Jiro Horikoshi was on the correct path. By February 4th of 1935, the first prototype was completed and ready for flight trials. Powered by the Nakajima Ha-1 Kotobuki radial piston engine, producing roughly 600 horsepower, the aircraft took to the skies. It dazzled onlookers with blazing quickness that far exceeded expectations, reaching a maximum speed of 280 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour faster than originally planned. Mitsubishi would tweak the fuselage, slightly reducing weight before full-scale production. Officially designated the A5M, the Japanese Navy was satisfied with the selection, and young pilots were eager to put the carrier-based fighter through its paces. The Imperial Japanese Army Air Service, however, thought otherwise. Despite the A5M besting their Army standard Ki-10 biplane, officials cited a lack of maneuverability. The deep-seated inter-service rivalry certainly played a role in this decision. The IJAAS would ultimately side with the Nakajima Ki-27, a separate but capable aircraft. The A5M would first see action in the Second Sino-Japanese War, going head-to-head with the Boeing P-26C Peashooter. These skirmishes between the Japanese Navy and the Republic of China Air Force were the first recorded casualties and dogfights between metal monoplanes. Equipped with a pair of Type 97 7.7mm machine guns, the A5M proved to be a handful for opposing pilots. As with most Japanese fighters of the period, maneuverability and speed were the backbone of combat effectiveness. Engine updates filled the bulk of each variant until the A5M4. A detachable fuel tank and closed cockpit made the A5M4 the most formidable variation to date. With these much-needed upgrades, the platform rapidly assumed the role of an escort, protecting G-3M bombers. The Soviet Polikarpov I-16 in the hands of Chinese pilots gave the Japanese Navy a run for its money in the spring of 1938. The I-16 is the closest comparison to the A5M4 in terms of handling and was a worthy adversary indeed. The once pillar of Japanese naval air power and world's first carrier-borne fighter began to quickly lose favor by the following year, being subsequently replaced by the Mitsubishi A6M0 in 1940. The final official use of the A5M as a fighter took place during the Battle of the Coral Sea, May 7, 1942. When a pair of aircraft departed from the deck of the Japanese carrier Shoho. As the outlook worsened for the crumbling Empire of Japan, the A5M would be called upon one final time to serve her nation in the role of a kamikaze. To cap off this video, let's briefly cover specifications for the Mitsubishi A5M4. This groundbreaking aircraft had a top speed of 270 miles per hour at an optimal power altitude of 10,000 feet. The power plant used was a single Nakajima Kotobuki 41 9-cylinder air-cooled radial piston engine, which produced upwards of 700 horsepower. The service ceiling topped out at 32,000 feet, patrolling a range of 746 miles, or 648 nautical miles. The A5M4 had a crew of 1, a length of 25 feet, a height of 10 feet 9 inches, a gross weight of 3,680 pounds, and a total wingspan of just over 36 feet. Finally, armament consisted of two 7.7mm Type 97 synchronized machine guns mounted within the fuselage. The A5M4 also had the potential to carry two 66-pound bombs, or a single 42-gallon drop tank. The Mitsubishi A5M was a revolutionary aircraft, being the world's first carrier-borne fighter. It is often overlooked by its successor, but is arguably one of the best platforms to emerge from the Empire of Japan. I hope you've enjoyed today's short overview of the Japanese Mitsubishi A5M. We are a small channel, so a like is greatly appreciated, and recommendations are always welcome. Again, I am no expert and never claim to be. Until next time on Tipton Bros.